So it is getting ready to thunderstorm. So I thought I'd pop up a little popcorn and either do some editing or watch a movie on Netflix. Terry is asleep, napping in the back. And I'll tell you, I really appreciate a gas stove. We had electric growing up, and my sister had pointed out to me that it used to be when you walked into someone's house that had a gas stove, you notice it right away because of the pilot lights. And of course, that's not so much an issue nowadays with the piezo electric starters. So, but the instantaneous creation of heat is really fantastic when you make popcorn. It makes it a lot simpler. I just set it on 5 and away we go. But, one of the advantages to having a YouTube channel is that you don't have to post all the stuff that you do that's just dumber than all get out, And I've done 2 things driving a big vehicle that are just incredibly stupid. And the last one was the other day. We were in a state park, and I pulled up, unhooked the car, parked the car, and I was going to pull into our campsite, and Terry offered to get out and guide me backing up. And I had kind of glanced at everything and then got distracted for a minute. And I thought it was like a big parking lot that, it was just wide open. There wasn't anything to run into. So I said, nah, don't worry about it. And I proceeded to back into a post. And smashed the ladder on the RV and cracked the fiberglass. And damn it, as a professional driver, there is nothing more embarrassing than doing something as stupid as that. Totally unavoidable. I mean, totally avoidable, So this summer, guess who's learning how to do fiberglass work? But, it's just been it had been a bad week. This is going back in time a little bit. We were headed to Albuquerque to meet up with my sister and my brother-in-law, Bob. Truly fantastic people. So we were driving there to meet them, and we had picked out a place in Texas that was a wildlife management area to stay at. And the GPS doesn't work well with those kinds of places, and it took us past the main entrance and to a gate that was locked and obviously never used. And so I found a spot where I thought we could turn around, and it had a little puddle of water, or what looked like a little puddle of water, on a little loop, but it was gravel and looked like we could drive through it with no problem. So I drove through it all right. Well, it turned out to be way deeper than it looked, and coming down off the road, the front of the RV scraped, and it tore up the fiberglass, and it stripped out some bolts on the panel below the generator door so that it was flopping loosely. And then, to top it off, when the back went through, it caught our mud flap, full width mud flap, and bent that and destroyed it to where it wasn't worth fixing. Now that's not a big loss. I hated that goddamn thing anyway. But, it's just one of those things. You get these like in threes, right? So that was number one. The next day we're driving to our campground, and there's a good 40-mile-an-hour headwind. And the RV does well in that. It uses a lot of power and fuel, but it handles the wind pretty well. But a semi came past us on a 2-lane highway, probably doing 65 like we were. And with that 40-mile-an-hour wind and his wind, it was this massive just whoomp sound. And right after that, I could hear, like the wind, I could hear more wind noise. I didn't think anything of it because we turned just a little ways after that. Went to the campground where I backed over the goddamn post. And then the next day when we're driving down the highway, I can hear wind noise, and I know this is different than it usually is. So I have Terry feel around by the windshield, and sure enough, there's air coming through. When we stopped and I could actually look at it, focusing on that air blast had pushed both windshields in the middle. And luckily, it didn't break either windshield, but what the guy, so I stopped right away in Albuquerque when we got there and they had to undo the windshields and reseat them and get everything back in place. But the guy told me that what happens is that over time these gaskets shrink a little bit and it makes it a little more susceptible to that type of thing. But he said that, that had to be one hell of a blast. And it was. There was no doubt about it. But anyway, so between scraping the front corners of the RV and breaking the front panel, ruining the mud flap, and then smashing the ladder and breaking the fiberglass on the back, and then having the windshield just about cave in on us, it's, been a crazy time. Fortunately, we've made it to a place where we seem to be able to stay and sit out this whole coronavirus thing as best as we can. I like the concept of trying to be isolated for a couple weeks so that we know we're not infected and potential carriers or something. But man, that's really hard. I went to go fishing in Pagosa Springs, and no sooner did somebody see my fly rod than they were young sort of high school age kid from Texas was immediately asking me questions about fly fishing. And I didn't shoo him away. But it just points out this isn't as easy as it seems to be able to just isolate yourself, right? And I'm sure it's much harder for everybody else that's having to go to stores and living in cities and that type of thing, or if you're having to go to work and use public transportation. So anyway, we're fortunate. So it's been Monday since I had any even close contact with somebody, and Sunday for Terry. Today's Saturday. So far so good. We'll see how it all shakes out. I am looking forward to a little bit of thunder. Haven't had that since last spring or summer. And while an RV isn't the best place for a severe storm, certainly it is a fantastic place for a little rain and coziness. Anyway, thanks for watching, and take care. Oh, by the way, I'll tell you the story of my other stupid thing I did driving a semi. I had stopped in Beach, North Dakota, which is a complete misnomer, believe me. And they had a Flying J there. And I got fuel and did some work on my computer. I was consulting as well as truck driving at that time. And as I started to pull out in the afternoon out of that truck stop, it was starting to get dark, and I had left the light on in the sleeper, and that reflects on your windshield, and my Kenworth didn't have a switch on the dash to control the sleeper light. So I stopped at the driveway as I was pulling out. I looked in the mirror and I didn't see anybody behind me, and I thought it'll take me 2 seconds, I'll turn that light off. So I turned my flashers on and hopped into the back in the sleeper, started to turn that light off and realized I'd left my laptop open. So I closed that, turned the light off, I turned around to go get back in my driver's seat, and I was rolling out onto the highway just as another semi was going by at 50 miles an hour. And I jumped in the seat and jammed on the brake, but it was too late. I smacked into the side of a guy hauling a brand new aluminum flatbed trailer. Smacked into that thing and tore off his toolboxes, ruined the tires and rims on that side of it, and messed up my grill on my KW 700. And that guy, man, afterwards, he's like, he's going to make sure I get a ticket, right? The sheriff comes. And so the sheriff puts me in the car and he says, man, he's adamant that I give you a ticket. And I said, yeah, okay. And I had made up the story that I was bent over picking my Qualcomm computer up, and my foot went off the brake and I rolled out. Because the driver's going, I didn't even see you. I didn't even see you in the seat or something, you know. I don't even know what you were doing, you know. And he was mad, obviously. I don't blame him. Anyway, so the sheriff and I go through a list of tickets. North Dakota has famously minor fines, right? And I ended up getting a ticket for $10 for failure to yield the right-of-way. So my first stupid mistake, I wasn't even driving the damn thing. But anyway, you know, lessons learned, man. You got to be careful. Anyway, take care, everybody.